Welcome back, viewers. The presentation for today is the fourth poem of CBSE Class 9th English Language and Literature course, The Lake Isle of Innisfree by William Butler Yeats. So here I am, RUTH SHEFALI MALHOTRA, to take you through the poem, helping you understand, appreciate and enjoy it. William Butler Yeats, the poet. He was born in Dublin, that is, in the country of Ireland in 1865, and was educated in London. Yeats wrote both plays as well as poetry, focusing mainly on Irish legends and personal spiritual beliefs. By 1910, Yeats' focus shifted by making him more experimental and poetical, to the effect that he also was considered for the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1923. The poem, The Lake Isle of Innisfree, is a daydream of the speaker, who seems to be the poet himself, where Innisfree, which is an actual place on Low Gill in County Sligo, Western Ireland, is idealized, which seems to be in the poet's memory, who had visited it with his family as a boy. So before we begin with the explanation, a peep into the poem. In the poem, the speaker idealizes the Lake Isle of Innisfree, attributing mystical, magical qualities to it, which provides nature's balm to bring back peace and tranquility in the speaker's life that he is unable to find in the humdrums of his chaotic city life. The speaker praises natural world, showcasing it to be a strong spiritual force. The poet also builds on a dreamy supernatural atmosphere which he feels deep within him, claiming this to be summoning him at all times, so much so that the poet can feel its presence with him at all times. So the speaker expresses a deep, persistent desire to leave his city life and go to the ideal, peaceful life at Innisfree. So now, let's understand as well as enjoy this beautiful poem. The first stanza. I will arise and go now, and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin built there, of clay and wattles made. 9 bean rows will I have there, a hive for the honey bee, and live alone in the bee-loud glade. The poem opens with a strong intention of the poet to go to the Isle of Innisfree. Repetition of the word go in the first line itself shows the poet to be emphasizing his desire of going to Innisfree. The speaker then tells that what he intends to do when he reaches Innisfree. He would build for himself a modest place, a small room using clay and wattles, that is, twisted sticks and bamboo. For his food, he purposes to grow 9 rows of bean plants and use honey from the honey bee hives that are found there. There in his cabin, that would be in the clearing of the wild, the only sound that he would be hearing would be the buzzing of the bees. And now the second stanza. And I shall have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the vales of the morning to where the cricket sings. Their midnights all agleam, and noon a purple glow, and evening full of the linnet's wings. The second stanza explains the reason for the speaker's desire to go to Innisfree. His desire to find peace, which seems to have evaded the speaker's life. The poet metaphorically relates peace to nature. He says that once he goes to be in Innisfree, all by himself, in his little humble abode that he would build for himself, he would gradually feel peace descending on him, just as the morning mist, described as the veil that descends, revealing the morning. The speaker goes on to say that even the cricket's chirping would make him peaceful. He continues to describe 3 more times of the day, that is, midnight, where the glimmering of the stars in the open sky will bring him peace, noon, where the purple glow of the setting sun in the sky will provide him peace, and evening, where the sound of the flapping of the wings of the linnet birds will be the source of peace to him. It seems to indicate that all these 3 times of the day possess magical powers that would provide a balm to soothe the otherwise anxious mind of the poet and make him peaceful. Stanza 3. I will arise and go now, for always night and day I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore. While I stand on the roadway or on the pavement's grey, I hear it in the deep heart's core. In this final stanza, the speaker seems to be rousing himself and begins addressing the real world. He reaffirms his wish to rise up and go to Innisfree. The poet goes on to say that the continuous lapping of the lake water on the shore has so obsessed his mind that he keeps on hearing its sound at all times, night and day. The sound of the lake water so haunts him that even when he is surrounded by roads and pavements which symbolize the ugliness and boredom of the city life, he can hear the lake water deep within his heart. The poet here contrasts the beauty of Innisfree to the ugly image of a modern city, emphasizing the disparity between the aspirations of the poet and the reality. So now, in a nutshell, the Lake Isle of Innisfree is a lyrical poem. The speaker seems to be living in a city and pines to move on to a simpler life on Innisfree. The poem is a reverie, that is, a daydream. The poet imagining a fulfilling life on the island. The speaker, though starry-eyed and idealistic, is insistent, determined to make this dream of his a reality. The speaker refers to Innisfree as an idealistic, mystic place with each time of the day having a magical hue, with unbroken solitude and peace, which would be his when he goes on to live there. Direct relation between peace and nature is painted in the poem. The wrapping up of the poem reveals the deep-seated intention of the poet to go to Innisfree, strongly hinting that the poet's present environment does not contain the natural elements that are critical to his happiness and peace. So now, let us discuss the literary devices that the poet has used in this poem. The first one, alliteration. It's repetitive consonant sound at the beginning of the words that are placed close together. Now, if we see in the very first stanza, a hive for the honey, where the H sound is repetitive. Live alone in the bee loud glade. That is repetitive sound of L. And when we move on to the third stanza, again we see a repetitive L sound, lake, water, lapping low. So that's alliteration. The second literary device is repetition, which is words, phrases or sentences that are repeated to lay emphasis on a thought or an idea. Now, if we see in the first and the third stanza, the poet uses the phrase, I will arise and go now. This repetition shows the poet's strong determination to do a certain act. The third literary device, personification, that is, giving human attribute to a thing or an animal or an idea. Now, if we see in the second stanza of the poem, morning is personified as a woman wearing a veil. The fourth literary device, metaphor, which is comparing two or more than two things without using words like as or like. Again, if we see the second paragraph, the morning mist is being compared to the veil being worn by the morning. Fifth literary device, if you see, is illusion. Now, what is illusion? When word or phrase is designed to call something to mind without actually mentioning it. Now, if we see the phrase again, I will arise and go now, it refers to a biblical parable of a prodigal son. So, the poet has used this phrase as an allusion to the parable of the prodigal son referred in the Bible. Coming to the sixth literary device, that's enjambment, which is when a sentence continues without a pause beyond the end of a line, or a couplet, or a stanza. If I give the example for the first one, for always night and day, it does not end there. There's no punctuation there, but it continues, showing it to be an example of enjambment. And the seventh literary device that the poet has used is imagery, that is, a visually descriptive or figurative language. When he's saying midnight's glimmer, moon a purple glow, evenings full of linnet wings. Coming to the rhyme scheme, poem uses the rhyme scheme of A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F. Now I have the word book for you. This time I have illustrated each word so that it becomes clear to you. First one, cabin, that's a small room. You can see the picture of it attached with it. Then wattles, which are twisted sticks and bamboo used to make pencils. You can see the picture of that as well. Glade, an open space or a clearing in the forest. And veil, as you see, fine cloth used by women to cover their face. Cricket is a small insect, very similar to grasshopper, but having smaller legs. Linnet is a very small bird, short beak. And glimmer means to shine. Night and day, that means at all the times. Lapping stands for striking of the water against the shore. And pavement is the footpath. Thank you for watching my video. Do like, share, comment and subscribe my video. It will help me come up with many more such informative videos. Thank you all once again.